before I move forward on this painting, I've got to deal with this background. And I did a little bit more experimenting with the lace. And one of them was to do a lift with Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to make a light area where those holes are rather than a dark area. And this is another one that I did light, and then I came back in with a very thin layer of purple in on top of there to sort of mute it all down and have it just a pale purple into the white in the background. And putting a little bit of purple just over some of this to see what would happen. So now we need to dive in onto the piece, and I know I had decided that I wanted to sort of have a yellowish tone, yellowy brown, goldy color. I hope I'm happy with this brown that now looks like wood back here. And so one of the thoughts that I had was that as I was playing around with this lace in my studio, I was noticing that if it's anywhere with the lights coming in, it's going to be dark with light back behind it, like what we see here. On top of that white. And so I'm actually thinking that I am going to do some lifting of light spots over on this sunny side, and then we can have the dark back behind it over on this on the left side. So let me try some of this. I have a clean Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. And yeah, I guess this is how we want to do it. And hopefully where I painted on this lace before doesn't leave a bunch of green splotches back behind. Ooh, this uses up my Mr. Clean Magic Eraser pretty fast. How's that looking? Oh, I sort of like that. I sort of like that. We need to go up and do one more up here. Let's see. That was right about there. And then do we want to do, decisions. I really wanted this to work in a little bit darker rather than a little bit lighter back in here. And of course, with that very pale there, it's not going to show at all. And did we want purple back behind this, purpley gray? I think so. Okay, we'll just wet that up and work with that, but I don't want it super dark, so we're thinning it down. I'm thinning it down just a little bit here. You may or may not want to be watching all of this. I might just speed it up. We'll see. Down in this corner, I want to go a little bit darker with it, so I'm using a little bit thicker paint. since this is sort of a shadowy area. Using up all that paint. I'm never going to get this lined up again, so I have to be sure that I've covered everything that I need to with this before I lift this little piece. And okay, so let me just hold it here and have a look. Oh, and I was afraid that was going to do that. That's okay. We'll just deal with it. Deal with it. I think I'm liking that purple on there, so I need to mix some more purple because I had used that all up. So let me mix that. That was the quinacridone magenta. Or is it quinacridone violet? I have to look at my containers. And burnt sienna. And a little bit of ultramarine blue. Is that grayed down enough? We could put some quinacridone gold in there to make a little bit more yellow, which will gray that just a little more. That's close to what I had before. Okay. Now let me take some of it over here and thin it. So I still have to be careful about getting too much on my brush at one time, because that was what that splatter area ended up being. And I'm going to just try and just do that on those holes. Okay. Let's see. No, I needed to go with a little bit lighter version over here as we work our way across through this upper area. Try and get the holes, and don't put any more than I need to on the fabric. This area over here is a little bit damp. I wonder what that's going to do. For my experimenting earlier, and I didn't dry this completely before I started using it. So this area over in the green is where I was playing with the lifting. Now this area over on the right-hand side is a little more in shadow, so I think we can go into this darker version of my paint. Let me just not refill my brush any more than I need to. I want to just double check and make sure that this is not, oh, it is. I think I might have to stop for a minute. Just wondering if I should stop completely, let this all dry, and then come back. Trying to be a little bit more careful about how much paint is on my brush here. There's too much brush paint, and it just makes a mess on the back side. So this is very much like using those plastic stencils that we were doing for both lifting and painting through. And you could probably also, interesting thought, treat this like a printing thing where you put paint on the lace and then press it into the paper to get color. So let's look and see how that's come out. And let's just take the rag to this to get it a little bit lighter. I like that little bit of light coming through there, and actually once this dries we might even be able to do a little bit of that in here. Okay, let me stop at this point, let this all dry, and then we'll decide from there how we're going to proceed. But I like this much better than the photograph. I'm a little unhappy down in here, but I think once that's dry, it's going to have to totally dry. I could do a lift like I did here and lift a little bit of stuff out of there. It looks like I didn't get any printing into that area right there. Let's see. Oh, that's that stuff there. I see. Then let's just do some of this leaf stuff in here. There, that's good. That's all it needed. Okay, I thought I'd like this the lace with the white in it, and although I find that interesting, it's too different from what's going on here and doesn't look like it's part of it. So I am going to need to, I think I'm going to have to come in and do purple back behind there as well. Okay, so now let's see what we can do about this last bit over here. dots. Make sure we don't have too much on the brush. Let's start up here at the top. It's a little too dark. Let me thin this down a little bit more. So this is, hopefully we'll like what we're doing here. I very much liked what happened to the rest of it, and I liked how my light dark background of the brown, once I put the purple in on top of it, it just gave it a richness that I liked quite a bit. It looks more like wallpaper back there than it looks like curtains, but that's okay. Who's to know what it was originally or what the intention was. Even the photograph, it probably looks more like wallpaper than it looks like anything else. And if we really wanted to get fancy with this, I suppose I could come in and actually do a few other little colors in on top of this in a few places. Then it would really look like wallpaper, wouldn't it? Work down in here. It's starting to run out of it, and I added a little bit more water because I figured it's going to look fine being light down here on the bottom. I just have to be careful about having too much on my brush. That was the one thing that I find that, you know, too much water on the brush is what makes it bleed through and just make a mess on the other side. So I have to be careful about not having too much paint or on the brush, too wet of a brush. I'm holding this steady as we go. You know, it was sort of fun playing with those stencils that I had gotten from the art store. This is the same idea, but it's just a little more malleable stencil. Okay, looks like we've got it all through there. I still have to do a little bit, yes, up here at the very top. And let's see. Okay. I can actually just give it that same sort of thing. I'm just moving my stencil up so that it sort of lines up down here at the bottom with the same thing so that it feels like it's all part of it. My piece wasn't quite wide enough to do this full run down here. I'll have to put my little piece of lace in the wash and have it ready to use for something else another time. Sort of fun, a little different. Okay. Yeah, that looks better. And I like this sort of little bit of an in and out there. Yes, but that works much, much better. Like that a lot better. All right. So that's going to have to dry before I lift off my masking fluid, although I could start lifting this over here, but I want that dry before we do this bit of masking right here. But let me go ahead and start over on this other side of this. And then it'll be ready for the next stages on this. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the video because there's no reason that you need to watch every little step of me taking off this masking. But we're now at the point where we're going to be able to do the vase, the cloth, and the bottle. And I think we're going to have 3 more lessons that might work out just about perfect. So let me go ahead and turn this off, and we will reconvene when we're doing the next stages of this. But in the meantime, I think I'm pretty happy with how this much of it has turned out.